Hey everyone, my name is Ben Gromyko. I'm from InterNACHI. That's the International Association of Certified Home Inspectors. And we do free, live, interactive, online InterNACHI webinars. And today we have a few special guests. We're going to talk about radon today. And we have Ecosense and the Canadian Association of Radon Scientists and Technologists. So that's David Ines from CARST, that's Canadian Radon Group, and Ben Sear and Mark Rosenfeld from Ecosense, and they're going to talk about radon. And I love talking about ancillary services and standalone services like radon. When I was a home inspector for a dozen years, just doing home inspections, I was always ticked off by this professional who came in with this little device and hung it on the ceiling and then left. And that was it. And I finally got a hold of one of them. I said, "What are you doing?" And I was doing radon. "Well, how much do you charge?" And he was charging the same as I was. And I was doing a 4-hour, 5-hour home inspection. So this seems to be a really profitable ancillary service and standalone service. Also, it's the second leading cause of lung cancer. And where I'm from, you should know where radon is in your area, because where I'm from in Colorado, 1 out of 2 homes have elevated levels of radon. So if I'm doing a home inspection, or if I'm interested in property inspections and I'm not radon certified, that's a mistake. So learn about radon, learn how to become a certified professional, especially in Canada. So fellas, thank you so much for being here today on an InterNACHI webinar and taking time out of your busy schedule to teach us about radon. So I'm going to give the baton to Ben.
Yep.
Are you going to open up? Thanks, Ben.
For sure.
Good name, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Ben, for that introduction. Like he said, we're going to do radon in Canada. And I am the Ecosense product manager with Radon Environmental. And I'm here with David Ines, who's the director of sales at Radon Environmental Management. Now we're happy to be partners with Ecosense out of the Silicon Valley in US, and we represent their product in Canada. So today we're going to, and also joining us is Mark Rosenfeld of Ecosense, and he's the director of sales down there, and he's going to be here to answer any questions near the end, and also go over any differences between the Canadian regulations and American regulations if there are American viewers here today.
Yep, so, and just one thing, if I could just interrupt, sorry, Ben.
No
if you have any questions, feel free to ask. On your side of the screen, there should be a Q&A feature or a chat feature. I'll pay attention to that. So feel free to ask any questions, and we'll handle all the questions at the end. Thanks, Ben.
Perfect. Yeah, so without further ado, David Ines is going to take us through Radon 101, and about halfway through that, after he's done, about 25 or 30 minutes of that, we're going to walk through the Ecosense line of continuous radon monitors and how you can use those monitors to incorporate them into your inspection business and generate revenue. So, but first, let's learn about radon, different mitigation techniques, and then we'll talk about the different methods we use in Canada.
Great. Thanks for the introduction, Ben. And thanks everybody for having me today. I just want to take you through, as Ben said, a quick, what I like to refer to as Radon 101. As the other Ben suggested, radon testing is a great revenue opportunity for you all. And I think it's important that you at least have the basic understanding of radon, because inevitably you will run across that homeowner that's super educated on the subject. And hopefully some of the information you take away today will help you engage that homeowner in an in-depth conversation. So Radon Environmental, we're a privately held Canadian company. We've been in business for 14 years now, and we have a full line of detection products, long-term, short-term, continuous radon monitors. We also have mitigation products for new construction and existing built construction, as well as a unique device which will mitigate using the HVAC system in a home or building that I'll talk to you a little bit about. So Radon 101, I'll cover where does it come from, how does it get in the building, the health impacts, some building codes, and I will talk to the Canadian building codes, so hopefully there's a few Canadians on here. And I'm also going to speak in becquerels. For those of you in the US, 1 picocurie equals 37.5 becquerels or thereabouts. So just so you can convert as I'm speaking. We'll talk a little bit about radon in well water. In Ben Gromyko's area, we install a lot of mitigation systems in residential wells. because Colorado is fairly rich in uranium, and as such has a lot of radon in groundwater wells. Okay, where does radon come from and how does it enter the buildings? So this pie chart here gives us our average lifetime exposure and to radiation and where it comes from. And as you can see by the chart, 50% of our lifetime exposure comes from radon gas, which is naturally occurring. And incidentally, it is everywhere. There's just because your neighbor doesn't have it doesn't mean you're not going to have it. So the only way to know how much you have in your home or workplace is to test. We get radiation from traveling, from cosmic rays when we're in airplanes. We get gamma radiation. Almost all the electronic equipment that you use today gives off a bit of gamma. Radiation is used in medical exploration, things like X-rays and PET scans and CT scans. And then there's just general, minute radiation from occupational hazards, fallout from the sky, nuclear discharge from power plants, etc. They all leak a little bit, however minute it would be. If you live next door to it, I'm not sure I'd want to purchase a home that was right next to a nuclear plant, that's for sure. So radon is in the decay chain of uranium. And if you look down the decay chain of uranium, it's got a lot of nasty characters in there. There's thoron, there's polonium, and it ends up as lead-210, which is, if you go back to the 70s and 80s, there was a big discovery and revelation that the lead that we'd used in our pipes was actually harming us. So uranium has a half-life of just about 4 billion years. So there's going to be lots of uranium left long after all of us have departed. And as it decays, it eventually becomes radon-222, which has a relatively short half-life of 3.82 days. And it's actually the radon progeny that do us the harm. So when radon hits that 3.82 days, it kicks off 2 alpha particles. And these alpha particles are negatively charged radioactive particles that float around in the air. They attach themselves at a microscopic level to particles of dust. We breathe them in our lungs, and then they strike the DNA tissue in our lungs. And when they strike that, they break the DNA chain. And our bodies are being bombarded all day long, so they rebuild that DNA chain. But every once in a while, that chain gets rebuilt in the wrong order, and that is the origin of the cancer cell. I like to use this map. One of the things we do at Radon Environmental is we do geophysical-based radon probability maps. And this is obviously the North American map here. And the red zones would have the highest probability to have radon. And that's not to say radon doesn't exist in all the zones, because it does, but it's just more probable in these red zones. And if you look at that swath of red that cuts across the belt buckle of North America, the interesting thing about that is that lines up with the lead edge of the last glacial period that happened on Earth. And all those dots concentrated in the far north to the left of Hudson Bay there, that's ore grade uranium that's in the soil up there. And what happened in that last glacial period is that overburden got carried down to that belt buckle line there. That's where the ice stopped. And when it receded, it left all this rich soil overburden that's rich in uranium. So, as I do these presentations, people are always asking me, does it come from the bedrock or does it come from the overburden? Well, in this particular case, the answer is it comes from both. But in this particular case, that swath that cuts across the belt buckle there, that's most certainly in the overburden. Not to say it's not in the bedrock as well, but that is the glacial till left from the last ice age. So it can enter homes through cracks in the slab, the seam of the slab and the footing, cracks in the walls. It will enter through residential well water, as I mentioned earlier. The Canadian action guideline is 200 becquerels. The US action guideline is 4 picocuries or 150 becquerels, but the World Health Organization recommends an action level of 100 becquerels, but goes on to say there's no level of exposure which is safe. Okay, I'll talk a little bit about the health impact now. So I like this slide here. It's an American slide, but in the US, we say there's we imagine that there's 21,000 deaths per year attributable to radon, 17.4 to drunk driving, 8,000 falls in the home, 3,000 drowning, and house fires 2,800. And yet we don't have a lot of media presence around radon versus, especially when you compare it to drunk driving or fires. Every home has a smoke detector now. Every office place has a smoke detector. Yet, radon just hasn't made it mainstream yet. And incidentally, that 21,000 figure is low because the way we arrive at a radon-induced lung cancer death is if the person was never a smoker and had no genealogy for lung cancer, then they attribute it to radon. And we know if you're a smoker, you have a 1 in 20 chance of getting lung cancer. If you're a smoker and you live in a radon-rich environment, that moves to 1 in 3. So we know there's a lot of smokers that die from lung cancer that end up that could have radon-induced lung cancer as well, and that's not included in our number. So yeah, here's our the deaths globally. Lung cancer deaths per year globally, there's 1.38 million. Attributable to radon, we say 14%. But again, remember that number is definitely higher because smokers that lived in a radon-rich environment are not included in our radon statistic. So in the US, that's 22,100 deaths a year, Canada 3,300, and globally 193,000. Yeah, I'll just run through this slide because people like to have sort of a benchmark of what, the damage, something they can relate to. So if you lived in 150 becquerels, which is just at the American action level, the equivalent impact on your lungs is as if you had 200 chest x-rays a year or smoked 8 cigarettes a day. At just 300, which is not uncommon at all, the equivalent would be 400 chest x-rays or 16 cigarettes a day. And at 370, that moves to 500 chest x-rays or 20 cigarettes, a full pack of cigarettes a day. So you can see it doesn't take a lot of exposure to damage your lungs. So radons, it will fluctuate hour to hour. And that's where the short-term test, you have to be a little bit careful. If you're running, doing an inspection on a very, very windy day, and you're testing for radon, say just for that 3-hour period, you have to think in terms of, or bear in mind that your radon level is going to be exceptionally high that day. When it's really windy out, the soil gets pressurized and it pushes the gas into the home, right? So the soil would be positively pressurized to the house in that particular case. So you'd have a lot of ingress in radon. And it will vary. At my house, it goes from anywhere from, I've seen my radon eye at 0 and I've seen it at 80. So you can see how much of variance throughout the day it has. Okay, we'll talk about building codes a bit here. So CARST, the Canadian Association of Radon Scientists and Technologists, of which I'm president this year, we also oversee the CNRPP, which is the Radon Proficiency Program. So we actually certify and train measurement and mitigation professionals. In the US, that training is done by NRPP, and ARST is the body as well, of which we're members. So in Canada, in most of our provinces, the building code requires some form of a rough-in at the time of construction. And in most provinces, it's just as simple as a 4-inch pipe coming from below the slab into a 4-inch layer of clear gravel. There's a vapor barrier that goes in, and then the slab is poured. And that pipe is simply stubbed up and capped and labeled as a radon vent. And then down the road, if the home tests high for radon, you've already got that first step in your radon mitigation done. You can just add an inline fan and run that pipe outside. In the province of BC, where I live, that pipe has to go outside at the time of framing, which we're lobbying hard to get the rest of the provinces to move that way, because it's just so much simpler when you're building and framing to run that pipe outside. And for the price of 2 extra lengths of pipe, it's not a lot. So the International Green Construction Code, this changed in 2020. So they've actually taken over the control of the LEED standards. So today, any building built to LEED Gold and above has to be tested upon completion for the occupancy permit and to receive that LEED Gold certification. And it has to be tested to a level below 100. So they actually adopted the World Health Organization. So this is a huge change for commercial buildings. And as you know, most of the commercial stuff being built right now is being built to LEED standards. We're currently involved in a couple of school projects in Canada, and everything's being built to LEED now. So they all have to be tested to that 100 upon completion. Yeah, radon has also been deemed a latent defect in the residential real estate transaction in the province of Alberta and BC. So that's starting to sweep the country and Canada. And I know in the US, there's 33 or maybe 34 now states where radon disclosure is part of the residential real estate transaction. So it won't take long for it to be deemed a latent defect. And what that means is that the onus is on the vendor at that point because it's a hidden defect in the home. So that's a real game changer for the radon industry. Okay, I'll talk a little bit about mitigation methodology now. So the most common mitigation strategy would be sub-slab depressurization. And you can see in this diagram, we've got that pipe going below the slab into a layer of gravel. The pipe runs outside the building with an inline radon fan that runs 24/7. It's got a manometer on it, so we make sure that we're pulling about 1 inch of the water column. And that basically what that does is, yes, it does vent some radon to the outside of the house, but the most important thing we're doing there is creating a negative pressure under the slab relative to the pressure in the home. Because as soon as you do that, physics is your friend. Things will not move from an area of low pressure to an area of high pressure. An alternative method that we sometimes use is the HRV, and you can see it hung in the basement in this diagram. And we have a device there in circle number 2 that's an indoor air quality sensor controller. That's called a radostat, and that measures the radon levels in the home in real time. It has a dry contact that connects to the high-speed override contact on the HRV or ERV. When it detects a peak of 150, not an average of 150, it kicks on that HRV into high speed and runs it for 20 minutes or until the radon levels subside. When we install that, we balance the HRV or ERV to slightly positive. So we're bringing in about 10% more air than we're taking out. And that positively pressurizes the house. And again, physics becomes our friend. That stops that ingress of radon because the pressure in the house is positive relative to the pressure below the slab. So building beyond the standard, one of the things we like to do at Radon Environmental is we like to look at the science that's out there and say, how can we better it? And we've developed about 7 years ago, this structural sub-slab insulation panel called Radon Guard. And it's an EPS panel that creates a thermal break between the ground and the slab. It's got 68% void space under it. So it's got unparalleled ventilation and drainage capillaries. And then you use that pipe the same as you would as if you're pulling from gravel. It's also code approved both in the US and Canada to replace that layer of 4-inch clear gravel. We also engineered a radon blocking membrane. It's called Radon Block. And this is a 20 mil 7-layer extruded product. And in the middle of it is an EVOH layer. And that EVOH layer is positively charged. So when those negatively charged radon ions try to make their way to diffuse through it, the positively charged EVOH layer attracts them and keeps them there. If you use poly as your vapor barrier, radon diffuses straight through the poly. It has no radon blocking capabilities, even if you're taping it and sealing it. So Radon Guard versus gravel, there's a bunch of tests that have been done by the NRC. The first drawback with the gravel is that nowhere in North America do we test our quarries for radon. So you could have a site with no radon whatsoever, and you truck in that gravel, and that gravel happens to be rich in uranium. You've now introduced the radon source into the home you're building. The void space, we know through the gravel, if we can all imagine how tight the voids are with 3/4 clear gravel. And what happens over time as we pull air through it and the water table rises and lowers, is it deposits sediment and clogs those voids. So the NRC and Health Canada did some testing. They mitigated 50 homes using gravel and waited 12 months, and they could get back into 40 of them. And already 10% of those 40 homes had elevated levels of radon because the voids had been filled, and we had to add extra suction points. So you won't have that problem with Radon Guard in the 68% void space. And the other thing that happens when you pull air through that clear gravel on an uninsulated slab, for those of you in colder climates, it cools the slab at 2 degrees C every 4 weeks. So over a 5-month heating season, that's a 10 degrees C cooling in the slab. And NRC went on to equate that to an 8% energy loss in the home. So in this day and age, when we're striving for energy efficiency in our homes and workplaces, that's a big killer for sure, pulling cold air under that uninsulated slab. I already spoke to the radon block over the poly. It's that EVOH layer in the middle that's the key. And you can see this installation here. It's a system. There's tapes made out of the same material that come with it, and you seal around any penetrations and seams in the project. So this is the HRV. We have a partnership with Fantech, and we use their Hero line exclusively of HRVs. And the reason we use those is they have the EC motors, so we can dial down the energy consumption as low as possible. And the Radostat I spoke about, again, it's that indoor air quality sensor controller that's going to pilot your HVAC system. And in a commercial building, we use a lot of these commercially. We attach it to the Lennox rooftop units or the building automation system, and it will perform the same as it will in a house. So the HRV, we all know how that works. And this was a study that was done by the NRC and presented by Grace there. And it just shows the efficiency of using the HRV as a radon mitigation tool. So for those of you that are inspecting a home, test it, you get high levels of radon. If they have an HRV or an ERV, that could be your mitigation solution right there. We have a partnership with Mike Holmes, and you guys love him or hate him. It seems to be both ways. There's no middle ground with him, but we certainly, our products appear in his episodes, and we are the official radon consultant to them across North America. So I'll talk a little bit about radon and water because I think it's important that you understand this. So this is the Canadian percentages of homes on wells, province by province. In the US, there's over 15 million groundwater wells. So, again, a big number of wells in the US. And our biggest fear is that dissolved radon. It's highly soluble in water. It dissolves itself in the groundwater. And when it enters our home, every device it enters through aerates the water in some way, shape, or form. And that releases the radon back into a gas form, which it prefers to be. There's also a lot of new science really emerged in the last 5 years. There's a study at a university in Arizona linking the consumption of radon contaminated water with early onset Alzheimer's. It's also been linked to certain types of blood cancer and stomach cancer as well. So all around, it's a good thing to get the radon out of your water. So this particular system here is called AIRWELL, and it's a down the well aeration solution. And we use this in Colorado all the time. We've got several dealers in the state of Colorado that install these, and it goes right down your well, uses that standing column of water as the aeration chamber. We put pipe right to the bottom of the well. We push air down 30 feet below the static level into the active sleeve. That air is released very slowly at the bottom of the active sleeve, and it creates a hydrodynamic pressure, or a chimney effect, if you will, that pulls the water from the bottom of the well up, runs it through the active aeration sleeve. So we're turning the water over top to bottom as well as aerating it, and it'll strip 92 to 99% of the gas from the water. There it is, active. You can see the bubbling there at the top of the static level of the well. And you can see it's not a torrent pace. It just runs 24/7. It's a low voltage system, consumes the same energy as a 60-watt incandescent light bulb. It also works very effectively for sulfur and methane. They're two dissolved gases that are found commonly in well water. We wouldn't use it necessarily just to do methane or sulfur. but it's a byproduct of us stripping the radon, that it will also strip the methane and the sulfur. As I mentioned earlier, it's a low voltage system, runs 24/7, consumes the same energy as a 60-watt incandescent light bulb, so not much at all. The transformer typically goes in the house or garage wherever there's a source of 120, and then you just bury a low voltage 12-2 outdoor garden light wire and run it out to the wellhead where the compressor is attached. Here's some case studies here. New Hampshire, where the limit's 4,000. We did a development there that was, the well was at 20,000 picocuries, and after just 24 hours, it was down under 1,000. So, you know, radon, it's absolutely a preventable risk, if you will. So it all starts with testing for sure. And, you know, if everybody tests, then we're going to eliminate the radon-induced lung cancer for sure. Okay, measurement and detection. I'll let you take it over, Ben.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, David. That was great. And like you said at the beginning, if you're, even though most of you are just are doing home inspections and are interested in the testing side of it and getting your customers the information of the radon levels in their house, it is important to understand the different options as far as mitigation tools and the risks around radon. And so that was great. And from here on out, I'm going to take you guys through our line, our line of Ecosense continuous radon monitors. And we're going to walk through the Canadian guidelines on 90-day testing, how to incorporate that into the home inspection, and also just how to kind of build revenue with radon testing in Canada and in North America as well. So I'm going to focus mostly in Canada on this presentation. And then at the end, if there's any questions from people that are outside of Canada, Mark Rosenfeld of Ecosense at the bottom there is going to be happy to answer any questions related to that. But for us Canadians, as we see, you know, depending on where you are in Canada, you may or may not have been hearing about radon. Awareness in Canada is growing rapidly, but there's definitely certain parts of the country where the awareness is low. So what I like to show this slide that this is a postcard sent out by Health Canada to just over 3 million households in the last year, and they plan to do more. And what this is showing is Health Canada is taking the initiative to make sure that Canadians have a better understanding of radon and the information that they need around it to test and take action. So with that being said, I'm going to talk about the Ecosense line of continuous radon monitors. So, but with that, what is Ecosense? Well, Ecosense is headquartered in the Silicon Valley, and they're solely dedicated to radon detection and monitoring. This US patented technology has the highest sensitivity at 30 counts per hour of any other radon monitors in its class. That's 15 times more sensitive than the ARST guidelines. And what that basically means for you guys as inspectors is you're going to get very reliable and accurate results that you can feel comfortable that there's no other monitor on the market that's giving you more reliable, accurate results that you can be giving your customers. So these are the products that we have: the Radon Eye, the EcoCube, and the Radon Eye Pro. Now, we like to use the Radon Eye and the EcoCube as our consumer devices and the Radon Eye Pro as a professional device. And I'm going to talk a little bit further about that and why the Pro really is the best product for our professionals. But all three of these products run on a pulsed ionized chamber, and they're all taking 30 counts per hour. So they really are accurate and fast devices. So with the 30 counts per hour, another point that the Radon Eye EcoCube and the Radon Eye Pro provide is a first measurement update in 10 minutes. And this is really important for our inspectors, as no other product on the market's doing this. So we understand that a reading in 10 minutes is you want to take that in relation with a longer term test. But if you can get a result in 10 minutes and continuous results every hour, what you can do in a short term, three hours, is give your customer a really good idea of what their radon levels are at that time, because you're going to get a result within 90% confidence within an hour. So, and then with that, you can give them some of the information that David spoke about earlier about radon, the health risks around it, and then we can talk about some different ways to be able to get a 90-day test, which Health Canada is suggesting that every homeowner does. So this is something that we really like to show, just how accurate the pulsed ionized chamber is and the importance of 30 counts per hour in all our devices. This is a study that went with our Radon Eye, which is the consumer device for $295. Now, I will let you know that the Radon Eye has the same technology as the Radon Eye Pro as far as the testing capacity, but we'll go through the Pro and what stands it apart. But you can see here from the University of Michigan and Kansas State, the University of Michigan took the Radon Eye against the AlphaGuard, which is a lab grade device that's worth more than $10,000. And as you can see over time, even short to long term, the Radon Eye is very, very accurate and almost as accurate as this $10,000 device. And on the right-hand side of the screen with Kansas State University, you can see with the Pylon, which is also a lab grade radon detector, the Radon Eye stays almost directly competitive with it throughout the entirety of the test. Whereas you can see the AirThings consumer devices, you definitely can't say the same for. So this is just showing you that the 30 counts per hour in the pulsed ionized chamber is giving you a device that you can really trust, and you can be trusting that it's giving your customers an accurate and reliable result. So the Radon Eye Pro, this is our certified device. It's certified by the NRPP, and that's also recognized by the CNRPP. So it's a certified device in Canada. To keep your certification, the device needs to be calibrated once a year in a radon chamber. And I'd be happy to give anybody that's interested in the Pro all the information on that. But with this, I'll show you kind of what comes with the Pro. So with the Pro, you get a nice carrying case. It comes with a battery pouch, extension cable, step-up cable for a battery if you decide that you're interested in using it with a battery instead of the 12-volt power, as you can see there, and also a tripod holder if that's something that you might be interested in. But what's really great about the Pro is the software behind it. So Ecosense is providing you guys with amazing products and amazing hardware, but what sets it apart is its software that's backing it. So with this, these devices connect with an app on your phone, and the Pro device connects through an app and through the internet. And what it can do is you can very easily set different inspection parameters, whether you want to connect through Wi-Fi and Bluetooth with the Pro device. You can set wait times, whether it's a 72-hour, 48-hour, however long you want to test for. You can use this device to easily give your customers a nice testing window of the home inspection. And once again, the unit easily switches between picocurries or becquerels. So most of these slides will be in picocurries, but you can, with a touch of a button through settings, you can easily change back and forth regarding whether you're in Canada or the US or what you're comfortable with using. So with that, as you can see, these are another screenshot of the app on your phone. You can go through new inspections, you can view results, do continuous monitoring, device info from that. And then you can also and I'm going to show you in the next couple slides, the reporting ability of the Pro. And that's what makes it stand apart from its competitors, is to be able to give your customers a really nice, easy to understand report. So here's an example of the report, and this report can be as long or as short as you'd like it to be. As you can see, you can put your own company logo on the top where Ecosense is, and you're going to have all the data laid out for your customer here, where the time it was, how long the test was, where it was, all the information that you need. There's places to be able to put a photograph to make sure that to just give people a scope of where the actual test was being done, to make sure that it fits in with all the local and national requirements on how to properly test the indoor air or the indoor radon of a house. And then you can see that they'll give you the concentration maximum, the minimum, the overall average. You get the EPA average to give people some perspective. And then there's options for comments here. And in the comments section, you're more than welcome to add as much or as little as you like. If you don't really want to add too many comments, you can, and if you leave it blank, the page will be automatically displaced from the reports. There'll be no blank pages. But it's nice to be able to add what what you found, what you're seeing in the certain in the radon levels, even in the short-term test, and then what the Health Canada guidelines are on the levels that you found. And like I said, there's another page here where you can add more comments about the nature of the test, the levels that they found, maybe some mitigation options if you're seeing high levels, whatever you'd like. And then lastly here, we've added a portion for temperature and relative humidity. And these are really important, especially in real estate transactions, just to make sure that radon tests are being done on the up and up, and there's no, they haven't been tampered with in any way. And the way you can see this too is just to make sure that temperature and relative humidity are staying relatively constant. If you might have left it in a real estate transaction and the seller doesn't want to disclose their high levels, it's very, very rare, but it's just a nice security blanket you have with the Radon Eye Pro. And, if you saw temperature drop or spike crazily over 2 hours and the humidity change, that might be an indication that windows were left open or the device was put outside to maybe change the overall averages. The other thing you'll see with that is when you see the graphing, you'll be able to see the radon levels go up and down. And if you see massive spikes over very short periods of time, it might be cause for concern. But as far as continuous monitoring goes, the graphing system's awesome because you'll be able to see how the levels go up and down throughout the different days and months and season changes and stuff like that. So it also could be an indicator that there was a huge storm or barometric pressure that went through. And if there was a massive storm in a 24-hour period, then you might want to test for a longer period or a different 24-hour period, as your number might be skewed based on that storm. So as I said, the last thing that really stands the Pro out from the consumer devices is the web dashboard. So what this is going to be able to do is, on your computer, you'll be able to see all of your testing, your monitoring status. You can manage your data. You can produce reports from the app or from the website, but it's also going to be able to be great for client management. So you're going to be able to see all of your tests that go on throughout the years. And if you need to go back and look at them, or you perform a test and, then you're writing a report the next couple of days, like you don't have to, there's no, all the data that's around the radon report for each individual customer is going to be monitored on the website, and just making things as easy as possible. So like I said before, and I'll just reiterate, is Ecosense is providing some of the best radon monitors on the market, and they're fast and accurate. But what really leverages them above and beyond the rest is the software and the software that backs them. And as long as the software team in the Silicon Valley that works 6 days a week to make sure that you guys are supported in every way, shape, or form possible. So I'm going to talk quickly about the Radon Eye and our consumer devices, especially in the Canadian market. So the Radon Eye, like I said, has very high ability to test for radon with the counts per hour in the same ionized chamber in the Radon Eye Pro and the EcoCube. The difference is you don't get the reportability or the data management of the Radon Eye. Now, the Radon Eye is kind of meant for a consumer. You put it in your house for long-term testing to be able to see what your levels are over 90 days, a year, that sort of thing. It works through an app on your phone, on your smartphone, Android or iOS, and you'll be able to see different graphing over time, whether it's day, month, week kind of thing. You'll be able to see your averages, your maximum, minimum, and once again, easily switch between peak curries and becquerels depending on where you're testing. And lastly, we'll talk about the EcoCube. So the main difference between the Radon Eye and the EcoCube is the EcoCube is a Wi-Fi generated device, where the Radon Eye is Bluetooth. So the EcoCube, as it's in its sleek design, is awesome because you can test anywhere in the house and you don't have it looks like just another piece of furniture. It's not a burden on an eyesore in any way, shape, or form, and it works through Wi-Fi. So you have to have it connected to Wi-Fi for it to be able to provide you results. The great part about Wi-Fi connected is you can see your radon results from anywhere. If you're on vacation, if you want to put it at a cottage or a lake house or a second home, and you're only there and you're not there in the winter time or whatever, you can see your levels even when you're not there while it's connected to Wi-Fi. And that's the number one difference between the EcoCube and the Radon Eye. So some inspectors will use the Radon Eye as a sniffer device, and they like the Radon Eye because of the Bluetooth capability. They don't want to have to ask for Wi-Fi passwords in a very short home inspection. And that's why we'll see some of our, especially in Canada, using the Radon Eye just to give a quick 3-hour test. You don't get the report, but you can take some screenshots or provide a quick little information to your customers in a 3-hour test. We're seeing some people do that, as the Radon Eye is a little bit of a cheaper device, and that's if that might be interesting to you. So why Ecosense? And after this, I'm going to do a couple slides that talk about how to kind of build your revenue or your business with radon, especially in Canada, because we are working with the 90-day test. So like I said, Ecosense is industry leading with 30 counts per hour, making it the most reliable and sensitive product on the market. And the software that behind it's just going to making things as easy as possible and as fast as possible for you as inspectors to be able to perform radon tests without having to deal with, you know, different technology mishaps and all that sort of thing. So with this, and this is going to be a section of building your business with radon testing in the EcoCube or the Ecosense line of products, is we have a referral club. So what we suggest is that all inspectors get a Radon Eye Pro, and you start using that Pro in every single home inspection, whether it's an auxiliary service or not. You can use, they're so easy to use, they're fast. It's going to take no more than 5 minutes out of your time to be able to set it up and be able to retrieve the information off the device. So whether you can charge, some people will charge an extra $25 and have radon just in every single home inspection. That's what we want to see, especially in Canada. We want to build the awareness, and the best way to build the awareness is get people thinking and talking about radon. And even if that's just a short-term screening, you give them the information that they need to know about a 90-day test, and they can get their very quick radon levels. This was what it was today. We suggest you testing for longer, and then you can provide them options with that. One of those options is a referral program. So what we'll do with the referral program is anybody that's interested will please email me after this session, and I'll sign you up. And basically the way that will work is you will give your customers a personalized referral code. And every time your referral code is used, the customer is going to get 10% off, and you're going to get a 7% rebate that we'll pay quarterly. So that's just a quick way for you to perform a quick 3-hour test, talk to them a little bit about radon. And then if you don't want to do any auxiliary services or go back or whatever, you say, here's a referral code. This is what you need to do to get everything that you need to be able to test long-term and understand your radon levels. Along with that, we'll talk to you quickly. I don't know if you have heard about an AlphaTrack device, and these are long-term pucks, like Ben, I think, mentioned earlier, that we're slowly trying to phase these out in the inspections, because the best way to test is to be able to continuously monitor and see your levels go up and down. But this is a cheaper option that some of our inspectors do like to have on hand for somebody that might not be interested in spending the money on a continuous radon monitor. We can get you these devices a little bit cheaper. You can have them on hand, and just at the end of the day, what we're really looking for is people to test their houses. And any way we can make that happen and build the awareness of radon and save lives of lung cancer, then that's what we're going to be doing. So I'd be happy to talk to anybody about the AlphaTrack and different ways to incorporate that or get your customers to use them for a 90-day test. But the way they basically work is you set them in the house for 90 days, usually in the lowest habited area. And then after the 90 days, you send it to the Radonova lab. This costs between $10 to $12, and in the coming months, we'll be releasing the RadTrack 3, which will bring that laboratory price down in shipping down to about $2 to $3, which we're very excited about. So building the home inspection with Ecosense CRM. So like I said, guys, what we're really trying to get you to do is to perform quick, easy, short-term screenings, whether it's just a 3-hour test. I understand that Health Canada wants longer-term 90-day testing, but what you can do is get people thinking and talking about radon. I haven't spoken yet about it, but in Canada, there's no regulations on being certified to use any of these devices, and we get that question a lot. We suggest that to be able to use them and talk intelligently about them, getting some sort of education on radon. I am aware that InterNACHI has a great radon course that you guys can take that will give you guys some background information. So when you are using the short-term testing, you can understand about the 90-day test that Canada suggests, but then you can talk to their consumer or your customers about how to get that 90-day test and what the short-term test is actually giving you. And the reasons why we test for longer is because radon levels can go up and down, but the short-term screening with these devices is giving you a great idea of what your radon levels are at that time. And then the other course that we recommend is the CNRPP course, and that's certified by Karst, and you become a measurement professional. And we do suggest you do that, especially if you are going to use this device as an auxiliary service or start providing auxiliary radon testing of 90 days, whether you do that with the Ecosense products or with the AlphaTrack. If you're going to be doing that full time, there's nothing that says you have to be certified, but we just suggest if you're going to be using it as an auxiliary service, it is important to get certified. So, and with that, these are just a couple of the options that we have to be able to start incorporating radon testing into the home inspection market. if you guys have any questions or would like to talk through some different strategies on how to get around the 90-day test, how to use the device for short-term screenings, or maybe use the alpha tracks for the 90-day test, or some options to be able to use the Ecosense product for 90-day tests, which we recommend. I'm going to put my email and phone number, and any questions you guys have, please contact me. I'd be happy to talk to you and set up a program that works best for your business. So with that, we're also very happy to provide you guys with very special pricing. The Radon Eye Pro for $185 off Canadian at $1,100, and the EcoCube and Radon Eye for 10% off. Now, the Radon Eye Pro is on our website at $1,100 for a very short period of time at www.radoncorp.com. And after that amount of time, please contact me if you're interested in the Pro device. I'd be happy to get you and honor this price for anybody that's under the InterNACHI banner. And as far as the consumer models, the EcoCube and the Radon Eye, once again, please reach out to me. I'd love to, I can help you out, get you some product. If you'd rather just go through the website, you can use the promo code InterNACHI10 for the EcoCube and Radon Eye, and that's going to get you 10% off on our website. So at this point, I think there's my contact information. Please, and this will be up on the InterNACHI website as well. But if you guys have any more questions or concerns, or just want to talk about Radon or thinking about maybe doing it in the future, please feel free to contact me. And
hey, Ben,
do some questions.
Ben, there was a question here, which I can answer for this market, but
Okay.
somebody's asking between the Radon Eye, the EcoCube, which one is being used by home inspectors more to get the customer a short report during inspections?
Yeah.
You know, so for the Canadian market, if you can address that quickly.
So the Radon Eye is being used much more than the EcoCube in the home inspection. And that is attributed almost solely to the fact that it is a Bluetooth enabled device, where the EcoCube is only a Wi-Fi enabled device. So if you're going to go into a home and do a 3-hour screening with the Radon Eye, you want it to be Bluetooth enabled, because you don't want to have to ask for Wi-Fi passwords every time you go into the house. So you're just going to, the Radon Eye stores data within the device. So you plug it in, it's plugged, set up, and then you leave it for the entirety of your home inspection. At the end, come back, pull up the app, whether you want to take some screenshots, print off the text file report, whatever it is. But the home inspectors are using the Radon Eye predominantly for the home inspection, mostly because it's a Bluetooth enabled device.
Okay. Also, somebody's asking, where in Alberta can they send the Radon Eye to get calibrated? So maybe you can just quickly go over the calibration service.
Yeah, for sure. So the Radon Eye Pro is the device that needs to be calibrated. The consumer devices, the Radon Eye and EcoCube, do not need to be calibrated, as they're not certified. But if you have a Radon Eye Pro and you're interested in getting it calibrated, that happens at the RSIC lab in Saskatoon. And we have special pricing through them. It's in the months of March and September, I believe you get the Radon Eye Pro calibrated for $125. Which is $50 off. Their regular rate is $175. But I'd be happy to send you the information on the lab and who to contact, and you send your device there to have it calibrated once a year to hold its certification.
Okay, and somebody's asking about battery price, and I can address that.
Okay.
We don't have a battery. I mean, we don't sell batteries directly, so we do offer. We've done extensive testing on a couple different batteries. Actually, we did testing on dozens of batteries to make sure that they work well and that they test out. And I can send over, or if we get an email address, we can send over the information on them. One thing I wanted to point out on the batteries is that be very careful. There's a lot of them out there, and there's a lot of them on, let's say, Amazon, but we have found that there's a wide range of quality between, on these little battery packs. And we've had, a number of inspectors here in the States that have just bought random ones, and typically they bought them on price. And I get that. I shop that way as well. But we have had some that just didn't work, or didn't work long enough. They have to cover, here in the States, they have to cover at least the 48 hours that you're out there doing the test. And I'm sure you'll want the same quality, up in Canada. So we have a list of a few that we've done extensive testing with that work. So if we get an email address, that myself or Ben can send you that info. We also have a uninterrupted power supply that we've done extensive testing with as well. So if you want to make sure that, if there's no downtime, you'll plug the unit into the UPS, which goes into the wall. So that would be the answer on the battery packs, and they range anywhere from in the $30 to $40 US up to about $75 to $80 US dollars, to make sure that you're getting a good standard. And also, last thing I'll mention on the batteries is they should never be stacked under or too close to the units. We've had some situations where people have stacked them on a tripod, and the feedback, there's a sort of a feedback loop or on it, and it has caused spikes in the testing. So keep them away from the actual unit, and they work fine. That was that. Power source: can you charge the Radon in case the property has no power? No, it works off AC or off of the battery. One thing to note: if the test stops on the Radon Pro because of the power, as Ben noted, it does state that, it shows that on the in the report, and when it's plugged back in, it'll resume from the exact same spot. So you're not losing the test. So if power goes out, it'll come back on. And like here in the States, if there's a 48-hour test, at the end of the test, if only 45 hours have been tested, it'll continue on. Because sometimes we have inspectors, they'll come by and they'll say, hey, why? I'm here for the 48-hour pickup and it's only on 47 hours. That's the reason why. So we'll continue, so you don't lose that test. And that they ask about shipments, that you're going to have to answer, Ben.
So we at Radon Environmental ships Canada wide. Shipping price is dependent on where you are, but for most devices, it's ranges around $20 depending on the province. We ship from Vancouver, British Columbia, where our office is located in Maple Ridge, but yeah, we'd be happy. We ship across the country, and then as far as anything in America, Ecosense would be able to fill that order and ship, I think, across the US as well.
Okay. Do we have time for another question, Ben?
Sure.
Okay. Well, somebody's asking here, is it mandatory for InterNACHI CPI to complete advanced radon measurement service provider course before using the Radon Eye or similar products, or complete the radon measurement professionals initial testing course, or both? It
is not mandatory at all to have any certification to use any of the Radon Eye, the Radon Eye Pro, or the EcoCube to perform professional or individual testing. We just recommend that you do, mostly just because it's important to be able to give your customers accurate information. But as far as actually needing certification, you do not need to wait to get certification before you can start using devices in the field.
Okay. And another question is, can the complete test be taken during the 3 hours of performing the home inspection? I mean, it's depending on which, if you're using the Pro, a complete test needs to be, to get a report, you need to have at least 2 hours of data. So the answer there would be yes. Here in the States, it's typically a 48-hour test in most states is required, though not in every state. There's about 30 different regulations state by state.
So in Canada, as far as the 3-hour test, we have tons of inspectors that are doing this. And yeah, the answer is yes. You can do a 3-hour test with the Pro or the Eye, and be able to do a report with the Pro or the Eye. What most inspectors do is take a screenshot of the averages throughout the 3-hour test of the actual app and be able to show that to their customers. And then what you want to do after the three-hour test is just make sure that you are explaining that it's not a test in Canada, that's a screening. To be a test, it needs to be 90 days. So what you want to explain to them is that this is giving you a really good snapshot of your radon levels, but and then you need to provide them with the options, or you should be providing them with options to be able to test for 90 days, whether that's with a continuous radon monitor of themselves, something that you might provide, and you might do a short term and then provide a 90-day test, or or they can get themselves an Alpha Track device if they do not want to get a continuous radon monitor. But you definitely can do a short-term screening test in 3 hours of the home inspection.
Okay. The one last question was about shipping prices to Quebec. Since you're email addresses on there. That would probably be best to be addressed offline. So the gentleman who's asking about that, if you reach out to Ben via email, I'm sure he can give you a good estimate or maybe an exact price on what it would cost to ship one of these units to to Quebec from the Vancouver
Absolutely.
area. So the last question here I'm seeing is, so the gentleman who asked about the 3 hours says, so the 3 hours is a radon screen that would be performed.
In Canada, we like to call it a radon screen because it's not a recognized test until a 90-day long-term test is provided. So by calling it a radon screen is just making sure that there's no confusion around the 3-hour test. So it is, we call it a screening or a presence survey, depending on what you're doing. But and what that basically is just doing is giving them a good idea of their current radon levels with information on doing a 90-day test. As for example, if you did a 3-hour screening in Canada and tried to use that as your radon levels for a real estate transaction in Alberta, it wouldn't it would not hold up. Like the 3-hour screening would not hold weight. It would need to be a longer test for it to be recognized. So that's why we're calling it a screening and not a test.
Okay. And a lot of U.S. inspectors will do a sort of a similar screening when they do, which they don't typically charge for, but they'll do the screening so that they can see what the levels are. And then if it seems high during the course of the inspection, then they'll sort of do an upsell to try to do a full 48-hour or 72-hour test.
Well, exactly. And after you get the device, it's a one-time fee for the device, right? So then at that point in time, you're free to use it as much or as little as you want. You can use it every single day for screenings, and it's no extra cost to you. And like I said, the timing that goes into producing a 3-hour screening for the inspector is very, very little. You plug it in, wait till the time, and go and get the results at the end for the most part. And like I said, anybody with questions on this, please reach out to me, and I'd be happy to have exchange emails or have a phone call and discuss the best option for you guys to be incorporating radon testing or screening into the home inspection.
I think that covers it on questions.
I got a couple of questions.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe David can also help us. What is the difference between the CARST and the AARST and the NRPP and the CNR? I get it all confused now. Just
CNRPP, yeah. So basically, KARST and ARST are the same organizations, just ARST is the American body and KARST is the Canadian body. But we work together a lot. NRPP is the certification body of ARST. So they certify products, they certify measurement professionals, mitigation professionals, and CNRPP is the Canadian arm of that. So we certify our own Canadian measurement and mitigation professionals and our own devices. The reality is, when it comes to the devices, NRPP and CNRPP work together. We don't duplicate, so we share data. It's a friendly relationship.
Thanks. And in the United States, the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, basically just handed over everything to AARST and NRPP.
That's correct. Yeah.
EPA funds states, I think all of them, with money, made a requirement that if the state lists any professionals, they have to be certified by NRPP, the American side of the NRPP.
That's
so what if I'm in Toronto and I want to go over to Buffalo, New York, and do a radon test?
So the state of New York is not regulated. I believe I'm correct in saying that, Mark, right?
The inspectors aren't. They do need to use an NRPP or NRSB, the National Radon what is it? Standard Board.
Yeah, National Radiation
Safety Board. Yeah. Safety Board. Yeah, they have to use an NRPP or NRSB certified unit, but they don't have to be certified themselves.
Right. So the person going from Toronto would be using an NRPP certified device likely anyhow. So they'd be fine using that in Buffalo.
What if it's the other way? What if I'm American in New York and I want to go over?
Same thing. It's easier for the Americans to come over than it is for the Canadians to come over.
What about the associations? Like, do I have to be a member of both associations?
No, there's no mandatory. Well, some states, I think, some states you have to be NRPP certified for sure. But in Canada, there's no regulation for that.
Okay. We get this all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
I think, I don't know how many Americans live next to the border. I think it's like, I don't know, 1 million within 300 miles.
Yeah,
90% of Canadians live within 10 kilometers of the border.
that's right. Yeah, you're
So,
absolutely right.
Yeah. So our members are, I just wanted to share, our members are really confused.
Yeah.
It's similar, but different. And that's, that's just great.
It's complicated by the fact that each state is different too, right?
That's right.
Yes.
So to clarify on our side, InterNACHI just got reapproved by AARST and NRPP for our Radon course.
Right.
So anywhere in the United States, if you are, you can take a class to try to pass their exam. It's a tough exam. So that's good. Keep it tough.
Hey, Dave, I'm
yeah.
sorry, David, there's a question that I think this is an interesting one that he's asking, a gentleman's asking, can inspectors recommend mitigation companies to clients? Because here it's different states, they consider it a conflict of interest sometimes. So, I mean, do we or should we use CARS to do this?
In Canada, it's not a problem for inspectors to recommend mitigation companies.
Okay.
And through the CNRPP website too, you can also filter by location. So you can see all the certified mitigators in your area. And so inspectors can definitely recommend mitigation companies and that they choose. Yeah.
Okay, good. And there's one gentleman asking about marketing techniques for selling radon tests. I think that's another situation where rather than go into that now, if you reach out to Ben or David, they can probably help you in Canada as far as, you know, some of the marketing techniques, how to sell the program. And
Sean, for sure. If that's Sean that asked that question, I can send me an email. I can get on the phone with you. There's, like I said, there's many different options that people are choosing that works best for them, depending on how much time and extra effort you decide that you want to incorporate into radon testing for maximum profitability. But I can walk you through all the different options and how we can help you out and get you started with that for sure. So send me an email and I look forward to speaking with you.
Bundles. People love bundles.
Yeah.
Bundle it and discount it.
Yeah,
that's it. Bundles and discounts.
Well, fellas, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. That was really great. David, especially, thanks for taking us through Radon. And Mark and Ben, I really appreciate listening to I love the company. Really good devices, and you've got it going on with the technology. So really good.
We appreciate your support, Ben. Thank you.
Yep, you got it. Thank you, fellas. Stay safe,
everybody.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.